All right, so what does a day in the life of a dialysis nurse look like? Well, it starts really early and it's probably going to end pretty late. You're not going to do a normal 8-hour shift on this one. Starting out, I like to get there at about 5. Some nurses like to get there at about 5:30. Patients start going on at 6. In my opinion, if you show up 30 minutes beforehand, you're already behind and you're not going to do so well. So I like to get there at about 5 a.m. At about 5 a.m., that's when techs have already been there. Some of them have already been there since about 2 in the morning. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check all my machines, or I'm going to draw up all my heparins for my bay. Take a look at my bay assignment and see where I'm at. And then I take a look at my heparin orders for my bay for my morning shift patients. Typically, your bay is somewhere around 9 to 10, all the way up to about 15 patients per bay per shift. So there's a morning shift, and then there's going to be an evening shift. 2 shifts, for at least in my experience. Go ahead, and if your techs are done stringing your machines, go ahead and take a look at your machines. You're going to make sure that your baths are correct. Your bath is this thing right here. Of course, I don't know this machine, but that is your bath right there. Now, not every single patient has their very own specific bath. Each patient is ordered a bath. And so if your bath is the same as, most baths are the same. Some of them vary, but there's only about 3 or 4 different types of baths. There's not a bunch of different ones. Not to get too far into that one. Also, you're going to check your dialyzers. That is that filter thing right there. You want to make sure that everything looks stringed correctly. Make sure your dialyzers are the right size, shape, and everything you need them to be. They come in different shapes and sizes. Yes, they do. Make sure your bath is also correct, because you, the nurse, are going to have to sign off on that. Like I said, your techs are going to string these machines. You are going to make sure everything is correct. People make mistakes. It happens, yes. Make sure you're going the right way also. Anyways, after I do that, or before I do that, I'm going to draw up my heparins per my bay sheet orders. I know who I've got. I know where they're going. I'm going to draw up all their heparins, look at all their dialysizers, look at all their baths, make sure everything is correct. Right around 5:45, we're going to do a huddle or report. That's basically when the charge nurse meets with all of us and goes over if anyone has had any changes in their medical history, or if they're not there for whatever reason, hospitalizations, whatever it may be, vacations. Yeah, some people go on vacations. And at this point in time, someone is going to have to count every single med on the unit. Now, these meds are not like a normal med-surg unit. A normal med-surg unit may have hundreds of meds. In dialysis, you really only have about maybe 10. I'm going to say maybe 10. You very rarely have a large number of meds. Someone's going to count all of the meds. Typically, one nurse counts every single med. It doesn't take very long. It's sort of tedious, but someone has to do it, and they're going to give that number to the charge nurse for the day. That way, of course, the charge nurse knows, I've got enough meds to get through the day, or I don't have enough meds to get through the day. 6 a.m. rolls around, and it comes in like a hurricane. Patients go on the machines, just boom, 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 just quick as they can go. Typically, the techs put the patients on the machines. Someone is going to weigh the patient. It may or may not be a tech. It may be a designated weighing person. Someone's going to weigh that individual. Make sure, if you are here in the United States, we of course go by pounds. And if you're like myself, your company bought Canadian machines, which is kilograms, or the metric system. Be sure, if you're going from standard to metric or vice versa, you have converted things, because that's going to bite you in the hind end if not. And for whatever reason, our scales are standard, but our machines are metric. Why not just make everything metric? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Tech's going to put them on. As the nurse, you are going to go back behind these techs. Make sure all of your settings are correct, because you, the nurse, are the one who's going to have to sign off on all of these things. Yes, even though it is a tech putting them on the machine, you, the nurse, still have to make sure all of your settings are correct. Make sure you're not pulling off too much weight. Make sure you're not flowing too fast. Make sure the temperature's not too high or too cold. Make sure that, again, all your dialyzers and your baths are correct. Make sure everything looks right as far as settings on these machines. There's a lot of settings on these machines. I don't want to get too far into that, but you, the nurse, have to make sure that everything looks correct. Pull too much weight off a patient and they're not going to feel well. They're going to start cramping up just quickly. They sure will, actually. Patients are going to run anywhere from about 2 to 5 hours, and that's going to be scheduled. However, you should know someone's coming off of that thing early. Never fails. Someone wants to be done early. Yes, they sure do. As the nurse, it is in my best interest to get my meds and treatments done immediately after patients go on. I do not want to wait around. Like I said, I have 2 to 5 hours, at least in this first shift, to go around. And patients, that 2 hours is going to go pretty quick. Be sure you get all of your meds done as quick as possible, because if people need dressing changes, the nurse is the one doing the dressing changes. Not everyone is stuck with a fistula with needles in their arms. Not everybody is. Some people are connected with their ports, and they need dressing changes, which are sterile dressing changes. You're looking at several minutes per dressing change. If you have an entire bay full of dressing changes, you're going to spend some time on that. And before you know it, your patients are coming off those machines. Also, you need to assess your patients before they go on those machines. You got to be sure you listen and look and hear complaints about everybody, because you, the nurse, have to sign off on all of that. So you got to assess them. Then you got to do your dressing changes. Then you got to make sure all of your settings are correct on all these machines. And all of this is actually going to take place. The settings and assessing is going to take place within like 15 minutes. And then you don't have very much longer to do all your dressing changes and your dressing changes and your meds, because that 2 minutes or 2 hours is going to come quick. Once patients start coming off, and it looks like sometimes you have large gaps between people coming off and other people coming off, but in reality, it happens just as fast as everybody came on, because somebody is going to be a bleeder. Somebody's going to need something that you did not foresee happening beforehand. And when they need something, that's going to take up a lot of your time. And this is why it's so important you get your meds and treatments done first. Get all of that done first. Somebody may have to run some sort of IV after dialysis that they can't run while they're being dialysized. Yes, it happens. You have a second shift coming on. You want to be sure that you put all of your, if you have a 2-hour patient and then a 5-hour patient on second shift, you want to put them in the same spot. You don't want to put 2 5 hours together, because you're looking at 10 hours of simple run time right there. A lot of run time. So you want to put your shortest with your longest with your shortest, coming on and coming off. Somebody has to clean these machines. Hopefully you have enough techs in your bay to where all of your machines can be cleaned fairly quickly. However, you're probably going to be getting in there and cleaning some machines. Now, your techs, I've been both a tech and a nurse on dialysis units, and I will tell you that a tech works so much harder, or I should say so much busier than the nurse. Not necessarily harder, but they are much busier than the nurse. Yes, those techs are very busy. Yes, please do not bother them with too many mundane tasks that you could do yourself. Somebody's got to clean these machines. Help them out if you're a nurse. Yes, I've cleaned a bunch of machines myself. Clean all these machines up, and then you got to put somebody back in there nearly as quick as you took them off, because you have an entire another shift coming on after that first shift is done. You have to redo all of your heparins. You have to make sure all of your heparins that were done for the morning shift, you got to redo heparins for the evening shift. Again, that's part of your meds that you need to get done within the first little bit of your patients coming on. You got to get that done quick, or you're going to be behind for the rest of the day. Again, patient's going to run the same exact way that they did in the morning shifts. Going to weigh. You're going to make sure all your settings are correct. You're going to listen to them. You're going to assess them. You're going to assess them before they leave. You're going to assess them when they get there. You're going to be assessing and assessing and assessing during that shift change. It's going to be crazy. You have to redo every single thing you did in the morning. Your med passes, your treatments, your dressing changes, whatever it may be. You have to redo all of those again for that second shift. That second shift is going to go by just as fast as that first shift. And if you don't get all your meds done first, you're going to be behind. You just will be. Then, at the end of the day, everybody gets assessed, everybody leaves, everybody's happy. Hopefully, everybody's weight came down and you met all your goals. And you do not have to report off to the charge nurse that you messed up somewhere, because that happens as well. You're not going to be there for 8 hours. That is not happening. You are not going to be there for 8 hours. You're looking at 10 minimum, most time over 12. Most of the time over 12. In the winter months, it's going to be dark when you get there. It's going to be dark when you leave. The one good thing about that is I've never worked 5 days in a row. So it is what it is. That is a day in the life of a dialysis nurse. Like this video, check this one out over here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe over there. I hope it helps. I hope you learned something from that. Thank you much.